Sierra here with the Source Talks podcast studio in Charlotte, North Carolina. In this episode of the Source Talks, I am speaking with Senator Caleb Theodros about what local and state policy really means for small business owners, community development, and economic opportunity. Senator, please tell us what committees you currently serve on.
So I'm on the Education Committee, I'm on the Transportation Committee, I'm on the Appropriations for Transportation Committee, I'm on the Regulatory Reform Committee, and then I was put on the New Revenues Commission.
Senator Theodros, thank you so much for joining us today. Okay, so for many entrepreneurs, especially Black-owned businesses and community-based businesses, policy decisions around infrastructure, development, and funding can have a direct impact on whether a business grows and sometimes whether they'll even survive in a community. One conversation and one issue that comes up frequently here in Charlotte is infrastructure, particularly around I-77 and the continued growth of this city. Most people agree that infrastructure solutions are needed, but there's debate about how those projects should be implemented and how those opportunities should be broken out to different groups. And from your perspective, how should communities be thinking about infrastructure solutions while still protecting the interests of residents and businesses?
Moving forward, no one is claiming that there's no need for additional infrastructure, especially for I-77. You know, we sit in those roads all day, and especially with the Charlotte growing, I think we do need infrastructure solutions, but it's just how do you do it? Many folks in the community raise a lot of questions because we know that historically, infrastructure and transportation policy has been used as a wedge for certain communities, African-American communities. We know that Eisenhower's highway system, a lot of it went through these urban areas where it was meant to disconnect a lot of the African-American communities. And so it's not just enough to talk about how that happened historically and then support certain projects that presently also do it.
We're talking about moving policy forward. In many cities, including Charlotte, development and infrastructure decisions have historically had disproportionate impact on Black-owned businesses, small businesses, women-owned businesses, minority businesses, and minority business corridors. What conversations are happening at the state level about protecting and strengthening those businesses during periods of growth and development? Are there any conversations at the state level that are being had about protecting and strengthening those businesses during periods of growth and development?
These are generational investments we're making into the community. And so we need to ensure that we don't repeat the mistakes of the past. And small businesses and businesses that already exist are a large part of that conversation.
I don't know if the proper way to say it is earmarked, but will there be items earmarked for those small businesses or Black businesses or minority-owned businesses?
So right now for the I-77 managed toll lane project, there's an $100 million displacement fund. It's pretty liberal in terms of what it can be used on, and I would 100% expect that a good portion of the money is used for small businesses and other displacement in that area. But it's not saying that it's enough. Again, it's a $1 billion, a 20-year, 50-year lease, and it's tens of billions of dollars. And so, that the money for displacement is great, but it's only a small step. But nonetheless, it is in the right direction.
This week, on April 8th, I will be in Raleigh for the Divine Nine Legislative Day. When organizations like the Divine Nine show up in large groups, is that effective?
One thing I would say is go out of your way to speak to people that you don't think align with your values. Mm-hmm. And so you all, it is nonpartisan, but you have values and things you all believe in. Mm-hmm. And so it doesn't take a very big guess to see who are some of the leaders in the Senate and the House that don't believe in the same thing. Mm-hmm. Meet with them first. Mm-hmm. Because listen, I want to see constituents engaged and in my office speaking to me. But for example, if I have somebody here that's speaking to me about we need to raise the minimum wage, I'm like, we're all on the same side here. Mm-hmm. And so your time is better spent. I'll point you to whoever's chair of finance or appropriations who doesn't think that, and you can make the case for them. And so I would tell folks, reach out. We'll obviously help connect you all with, if there are education needs, who are the education chairs that I don't think agree with you all, and you guys can go in front of them and make the case. And so I think it's very important to not only come to Raleigh and speak to the legislators that agree with you, but most importantly, it has to be to the folks that don't agree with you. Okay, Divine Nine Legislative Day. I would continue to encourage you all.
Thank you very much. Now, to build on the question we just asked, we have Divine Nine at the Capitol, actually coming up April the 8th.
Yeah.
And so you will have thousands of individuals coming out to Raleigh. What can we do while we're there? Should we be knocking on doors? What should we be doing to make sure that our voices are heard in this community?
It has to be reaching out to your elected officials. And so one thing people don't get is, listen, an elected official wants to get reelected. That is the black and white interest that a lot of folks oftentimes have. And that's predicated on constituents and how constituents feel. People are very reactive to that. So I tell folks, like, listen, sometimes you're not going to get a response to that email to a senator's office, except for mine. You respond. But it's very important for you to know that folks are looking at that email. Folks are paying attention to who's calling, and you can push them. There have been multiple examples in the General Assembly this year alone to where constituents have forced people to take different actions.
Today, many people use social media platforms to communicate with elected officials and raise awareness around community concerns. How effective are those platforms? How effective are these types of platforms in helping constituents connect with policymakers and advocate for their communities?
I would say continue to push. People have large platforms. Social media is getting very big now, but I would say continue to reach out to your elected officials.
Infrastructure projects sometimes lead to concerns about eminent domain and the displacement of businesses, especially long-standing small businesses and growing communities.
Myself, Senator Salvador are getting legislation right now to try to help out whether it comes to, there's policy around eminent domain. I think that the way that they measure the home value before they pay folks out, I think there's a lot more we could be doing in terms of the state. Once you're quite literally uprooting a family, the least you can do is ensure that they're properly compensated. And so Senator Salvador and I are working on legislation on that right now. It's because of community outreach. We only know what's going on from our neighbors emailing us and telling us that you should be paying attention to this. We have a lot of, and I'm not saying this is enough, we have a lot of programs to try to help folks who are displaced from their homes. We need an infinite amount more. But I think an area that we're lacking is the displacement of businesses, where they no longer can pay the rent that they're living there. They no longer can conform to the new kind of realities with that level of demand. And so I think that there needs to be more programs there.
I'm curious, what do we do as a community to assist you in this? Because we can't expect you to do everything on your own. So what do you need the community to give? What do you need us to give back? What do you need us to do? Do you want us to write letters? What are the things that you feel like people in Charlotte should do to support you and support this effort? When you say the community should have more say, how do you anticipate that affecting small businesses, especially Black businesses?
Yeah, I think part of the discussion is not only constituents, but Black businesses. If you take a step back in the sales tax increase discussion that we had last year, I think part of the discussion has to be, okay, what is going to happen to the displacement of small businesses already existing there? Small businesses and businesses that already exist are a large part of that conversation.
Senator Theodros, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you for taking the time to share your insights and for helping our audience better understand how policy decisions affect small businesses and communities here in the Charlotte area, Charlotte and surrounding areas. And to everyone watching or listening, thank you for joining us for this episode of The Source Talks. From the Source Podcast Studios here in Charlotte, North Carolina, I'm Sierra. Thank you for tuning in.